Okay, the PRVs. How do we want to? I know that there's been discussion, how much, what should I say? We've had discussion with LaRiviere, Paul, myself, Ben, I think Kyle, and your whole team was with that. There's still discussion that's going to be going on. However, we know the PRVs themselves and that issue. We are heads up above any worry of being outside of contract. We have them over the barrel on the PRVs, but there's more of this going on as a whole with the total package that we're talking to them about. It's not in the agenda, so I can just say that with the conversations going on, they're looking at taking our 120 feet of this pipe that we've been wondering how we're going to get rid of. So we got negotiations. I have a positive outlook on how we're going forward with this. We want them to be paid, but we don't want them to think that we've been a stingy turnip truck group and now here's their one opportunity to try to get some milk us for some money, and then that's not going to happen. But we're negotiating.
Well, on the PRVs, the original bid, or the original bid we put out, included a number of individual PRVs, and a lot of those were discluded by the zone PRVs that took care of a lot of the individuals. Now, is there any compensation there or consideration, the factor that we're not having to dig up each one of these boxes and put in a PRV?
What Sean was saying is that the pressure reducing valves part of it, we have denied that portion. So then there's the other actual claim part. So there's the LaRiviere claim, and then there's the pressure reducing valves. And the valves was denied, but the claim is for the traffic control.
I think where Ted's going with is they would have estimated and given us a quote that they would have expected, that it was going to cost a certain amount of money to put all this stuff in the ground. And then we accepted that with the full force of that we were going to be paying all this, which put our total cap of how much we were paying at a certain amount. And now that we've removed that, have we removed that amount from budgeting, from the, I mean, that's kind of where you're getting at it.
That's right. And all we see in change orders is things going up. We don't see things going down. There's been one change order that has gone down, and that was replacing that pipe underneath Highway 54. But there should be a consideration that they're not having to install all of these individual PRVs.
This is Ben just weighing in. We did just subtraction change order to subtract out all the 5 of the individual pressure reducing valves. So that was a net subtraction on the contract value. Now we did add a few thousand for the new PRV station that's going to take the place of those. So there's a net change down of around 60,000, and then we added about 12,000 to the PRV station. Something in that range. So we did have a change order that pulled those out that reduced the contract value.
Correct.
So what Ben is saying is that before it ever got to any work being done for this, the issue that required this, the change order removed that work with the associated costs of labor and equipment and such like that was pulled out because we weren't gonna be putting all these valves in.
Okay, all right, so it was, that was, okay.
And wasn't a big part of the issue that the PRVs could have been returned if they'd have done it in a timely manner? But LaRiviere did not return them in time to get full credit, so they're now wanting us to eat that bill, isn't that
Yes, we
the
did
case?
find out from them, because part of that last meeting was that they said, oh, Ferguson, who they ordered the parts from, said that they could be returned in a year, but they said the reason why we're issuing the claim is because we could never return them. And we were like, well, we didn't know this. This has not been conveyed to us at all. So we asked on the initial meeting, said, well, can we have proof that Ferguson was never going to accept this? And they did submit that, but it was neither here nor there because they took outside, LaRiviere took outside of their 30 days to submit a claim on our denial letter. So we said, sorry, you're outside of the window, we're not even going to discuss the PRVs anymore. So the claim that they did file is with the traffic core costs. So the PRV issue is kind of done, like Ben said, with the change order, we got back 60,000, with the new work being done was about 12,000, so in total we got about 48.
Yeah.
But, so now where we're at is the claim for the traffic control costs that is in the process of negotiation. And that one, the board will have to decide a figure on as a whole.
And they're saying that a majority of that traffic control was caused by having to put in these sectional PRVs?
No,
No.
the PRVs, those were two totally different things. So the traffic control one, LaRiviere in the meeting said to us, they said, well, we did, what was it, change order 7, I believe, was the change in traffic control for up on Cape Horn where we needed increased light, like stop and, traffic lights. And then, so I believe that was around 15,000 in the change order that we increased and gave them more money for. Well, then months later, because we issued that change order, I want to say August of 2023, and it gave them about $15,000 for the traffic control. Well, then come February of 2024, they said, oh, well, traffic control is billing us for $66,000, so now you have to pay the difference. And we went, what? And so at the meeting, we requested more invoices and proof that they paid it because LaRiviere said, well, we paid it on your guys' behalf so that they didn't take you to litigation. And we said, excuse me, we weren't even aware of it. So because we weren't even aware of it and LaRiviere said that they paid it for us to save us, but really I think what it is that we didn't have a contract with Traffic Court. Traffic Court never could have gone after us for that. So LaRiviere wants the difference of it because LaRiviere says that their hand was forced to use Traffic Court. When we asked, who was your hand forced by? And they said Lakes Highway. So district doesn't know their hand is forced, district doesn't know Traffic Corp's asking for more money. Now all of a sudden LaRiviere wants us to pay the difference. So that's what this claim is about. So I believe the original claim was about $66,000. And then in the meeting we said, well, is it $66,000 or are we getting any credit for the $15,000 in the change order that we paid? And they said, oh yeah, and that. So it's not really even 66,000. It's 66 minus the
50,000.
Yeah, slightly over 50.
51.
So that's what the claim is actually for, and what the board will need to decide what they want to do. The board who knows how much the board would spend in litigation fees going to war with them.
Especially when it's a contractor we continue to have to work with,
Yeah,
because we don't have a budge, being the small fish in the big pond.
hopefully, we're done working with them before we get to the next phase of this claim, but I don't know. It
Has there
seems like they're
ever-
kind of pushing it with the mediator.
Has there ever been a conversation with Lakes Highway District to ensure that Lakes Highway District was all actually pushing that agenda? Or did someone on the other side not do their due diligence and we're now eating the cost of it? Which would be my question.
Yeah, it's a very good question.
And it's up to them to prove our documentation from
From
Lakes Highway District.
Right, it's not up to us. Although if any of us are buddy with them, I'm not.
We,
So,
I understand that the initial bid, work was anticipated to stay along the shoulder of the road, and it wasn't going to impede, having to have lights and people waiting and stop and go and all that spiel. But as soon as they had to go across the road, and they took a whole lane because of where our infrastructure is, that caused a problem, but see, that should have been the 15,000 that we paid,
Well,
correct?
and then communicated that things had to switch up.
Right.
How do you want us to handle it? And, I mean, there's a whole bunch of missing conversations in the due diligence end that are not great.
And having
Yeah.
that traffic court, which is really a
Yeah.
third
Right.
tier contractor that we don't have agreement with coming in and then just being taken care of so we didn't have to worry about it. I don't like that.
Well, and the factor that the added, why, we knew that we had to put those lines together, and that was part of the original agreement.
Yeah. So it's 4:03 now, because someone's gonna have to be the spokesperson for it, and I believe that Paul has been leading this, so I think maybe kind of table it and come back to it with Paul,
Yeah.
now that you guys have
Yeah.
a basis.
Well,